Dive into the deep and discover the terrifying tales of ocean diving gone wrong. From disappearing divers to deadly sharks, these horrifying incidents will have you questioning the safety of the vast unknown sea. Join us as we explore the chilling mysteries that lurk beneath the waves. In October 2013, 3 men intended to dive into the wall to explore deeper areas. Technical diving involves special training and equipment and exceeds a specified depth. Due to the depth, divers must employ a special gas mixture to avoid nitrogen narcosis. Nitrogen, helium, and oxygen are combined in varied ratios depending on depth. As a result, you must make sure your composition is appropriate, otherwise you may pass out or get sick. They planned to dive to about 60 meters to see aquatic life. About 12 minutes into their dive, one of the men lost consciousness and started descending uncontrollably. His diving companion quickly caught up to him at 250 feet, 76.2 meters. After failing to revive the man owing to shock or a technological error, he started a quick ascension. In deep dives, you must ascend slowly based on time and depth. If done too quickly, blood gases don't emerge gently and safely. Inside your tissues and vascular system, they create bubbles. This can range from decompression sickness to blocked veins and arteries. Arterial gas embolism can cause stroke and heart attack if bubbles reach the heart and brain. By the time the man surfaced, he had undergone cardiac failure from gas emboli in his heart and brain. The third man emerged unharmed later, but it was too late. Authorities began searching for the last man in the water. He was found 2 days later and diagnosed with oxygen poisoning and nitrogen narcosis. His body was discovered 250 feet down. In the late 1980s, Tom and Eileen both attended UL Lafayette. They hit it off immediately and married before graduating. They signed up for the Peace Corps. This group of volunteers travels to emerging countries to aid with humanitarian concerns. Their 2-year voyage took them to Fiji and Tuvalu. At the end of their 10-year voyage, they chose to visit the Great Barrier Reef. They had always wanted to see it close to their base. Eileen introduced Tom to scuba diving when they first met. Since then, they've enjoyed scuba diving on the Great Barrier Reef. This huge reef is 2,300 kilometers long and has 3,000 distinct parts. It's the world's largest reef visible from space. In actuality, it's the biggest structure ever created by a living thing. To start their scuba diving journey, the pair flew to Port Douglas, Australia in January 1998. They identified a tour that will take 26 people 40 kilometers off the Queensland coast to St. Crispin's Reef. One of the many divisions of the bigger structure is this one. Even though it's far from shore, visitors often go there to dive. Tom and Eileen donned scuba gear at the dive spot and dove into the Coral Sea. The boat returned to Port Douglas after all 26 passengers reboarded. 2 passengers leaped into the ocean when the crew was counting heads. Due to the count error, they were down 2 passengers. With no boat in sight, Tom and Eileen reappeared shortly after entering the water. They were so far away from land that they couldn't see or swim to it. Then they realized they were stuck at sea. This location off Australia's coast is noted for its 5-meter tiger sharks. All the other fish and sea life are great prey for those big predators, and Tom and Eileen had no food, water, or way to get to aid. 2 days later, the expedition boat captain spotted 2 bags. Their wallets and passports were inside. Upon spotting these, he must have discovered they'd gotten off the boat and returned to get them. If they hadn't, they must have been lost at sea. He called the police, and the Australian Navy launched a big search with planes and helicopters. But by the time the hunt began, Tom and Eileen were already gone. 6 months later, a wetsuit washed ashore 75 kilometers from Port Douglas. The wetsuit was Eileen's size, but investigators weren't sure at first. Unfortunately, additional equipment was discovered a short time later. It included the couple's inflated dive jackets, Eileen's fins, and compression tanks. A diver's slate with a message was also found. On it were the date, time, and a request for aid. Investigators ruled out a shark attack since no blood was found on the wetsuit. The torn wetsuit's barnacles imply it has been underwater since the disappearance. It may have brushed against reef coral, tearing the material. After this discovery, the case became global. 2 missing Americans were added to the coverage. There was some conjecture that the couple staged it, but this was immediately ruled out because none of their bank accounts or life insurance policies were touched. The corporation in charge of the expeditions would also face prosecution, leading to more controversy. The company's legal team exposed Tom and Eileen's diaries to the press, alleging that Tom planted Eileen's word for safety. Friends and family feel the passengers were taken out of context. Only tiny chunks were disclosed to the press, but the police had full context. The expedition's skipper was declared not guilty, but his company was charged with carelessness and went bankrupt. Leading theory, a pair floated in the ocean until dehydrated. Severe dehydration often causes delirium, thus the pair may have removed their equipment in their delirium. Without their buoyant wetsuits, they would struggle to tread water and drown. Eileen's wetsuit was recovered without her. Otherwise, animals couldn't have done this to our physique. Dive firms were given stronger rules after the event to prevent a repeat. In 1951, the super luxury Andrea Doria was launched in Genoa, Italy. This luxury ocean ship was almost 700 feet long. As we've seen, cave diving can be extremely dangerous and a deadly activity, even for experienced divers. From the Rob Parker terror to the brutal ocean diving incidents, these stories serve as a reminder of the risks involved in exploring the depths of the earth and sea. It's important to always follow proper safety protocols and to have a deep respect for the power of nature. Thank you for joining us on this journey through some of the most horrifying cave diving incidents in history. Stay safe out there and never forget the lessons learned from these tragedies.